Hello, everyone, and welcome to Real Estate Right Now. We talk about real estate matters that matter to you. My name is Jay Izzo, and we are live here from Linda Craft Team Studios in Raleigh, North Carolina, part of the Greater Research Triangle Park. Today's show is about predictions for 2025 in the real estate market. I brought back Paul Fitz, a great friend. First of all, let me just say, a great friend.
But I don't even like you.
Yeah, I thought that's fine. And then, but also he is a senior mortgage lender with Advantage Lending. But the other thing that he is what I would call a market historian. He has done a lot of research over the course of time of looking at markets historically from a mortgage end, from a real estate end. And I thought if we were going to make predictions, who would be a better person to talk to based on our years of doing this and also his historical statistical data, that we should probably have a chat about what could we predict in 2025. So Paul, welcome back.
Hey, thank you, brother.
Good to see you.
Glad to be here.
New studio digs.
I like it. This is the crystal ball, I take it, that we can make the predictions from?
We got rid of the what everybody was calling the toilet seat.
That's what it was called.
People were calling it the toilet seat, so we got rid of that. We just moved.
Critics at home are so mean.
I'm telling you guys can be brutal. I'm just telling you because I got so many things that said, "Why do you have a sparkly toilet seat on the thing back there?"
If it's sparkly, it was Linda's.
Yeah, no, it was not. It was another thing. We're not going to get into it. It's just that it's gone. Is what it is.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
By the way, first show of the year. So
start off.
Let's talk about some predictions in real estate. It's been a volatile 4 years.
That's a good benchmark time frame.
Right? It has been, right?
Yeah.
Because if we think about what we've been to in the last 4 years, end of COVID or beginning or heart of COVID, interest rates, were down, then way up. People were multiple offers, and we had all sorts of things. It was a very difficult market to predict.
Right.
When we were there, you would come in and give us some historical data of interest rates,
charts, and
you brought that all in and educated us well. As we move into 2025, we have a new president and a new Congress and Senate, basically.
Yep. They're already working.
And this, of course, means that there's going to be change.
Yes.
Of some sort.
Yeah.
Right? Whether people agree with it or not, there's change, and we have to admit that up front.
Of course.
So
different policy, different direction.
Right.
Yeah, across the board.
Right. And then, inflation, we've had, numbers say that's stabilizing, and maybe we're going to get something out of that or not, maybe interest rates. And then, we're starting to see slight increases in housing inventory as well.
Because buying has slowed down so much.
Yeah. So what predictions, and I think this might be fun, that what we do is make a predictions at the beginning of the year. And then we'll
replay this show,
and then we're gonna maybe do the show at the end of the year and see how many we get right. So yeah. So I know nobody likes to be held accountable, but we're gonna hold ourselves accountable.
Did you see what happened with my fantasy team this year? And you want me to make predictions in the housing market?
Don't, because for the first time in my life in the fantasy football history, I've been playing since 1997.
Yeah, I know where you finished.
I've never finished in last place ever in my life. And so
nobody predicted that.
No, I didn't predict it.
I didn't predict it.
I didn't either. Yeah. So I don't feel comfortable about making predictions, but I'm going to do it anyway, just because I feel like I got to have some redemption. Okay. So what is one of the first predictions that you would make for 2025 in terms of what you think is going to happen here in the real estate market?
Oh, wow. I think the market currently, as we see it, has been normalized because of higher interest rates. I think the buying and selling side right now is, a few days on the market, there's no multiple offers. You get a good offer. It's solid. We're not waiting around for somebody to come in and jump it up by 20,000. I mean, it would be a more normalized market. Mm-hmm. But there was a lot of pain to get to a normalized market. No one, and again, I've brought in charts. We've talked about it. We've explained it. Over the last 4 years, we've seen the highest interest rate spikes that we've seen in 40 years.
Yes, right.
I mean, that is a long-term, trend that's broken at that point. And actually, if you look at the last 40 years of rates until 2021, until late 2021, the last 40 years, it was a down escalator. And then that escalator shot up. And again, highest interest rate spike we've seen in that period of time. Now, we talk about the new government that's coming in, new president, new policy, new direction.
Sure.
I truly believe that this current administration's focus is going to be on energy production, whereas the last administration, for their first 2.5 years, was stifling energy production.
Sure.
And to me, if you look at how oil works and how the bond market works, they work together. Right. If people are buying oil and they're buying bonds, interest rates decline. That's it. It's not like it's a Fed does blah and it's over.
Well, you've talked about on the show that that the way the economy works, it's a three-legged stool.
Yeah, every time. Yep.
Right. And energy is one of those legs.
Construction, production, and energy.
Right.
That's it.
So if you remove that, or you cut off the leg or shorten the leg, the stool is either not going to be able to stand, or it's so unstable you can't sit on it.
Tips over. That's right.
On some level or another.
Yeah.
And so energy is important, and I don't think we understand the importance of energy to housing. In that, if we can reduce the cost of energy, right, what happens is faster builds,
reduce the cost of construction.
We reduce the cost of construction over the course of time, which allows us to build a quicker inventory, which reduces the cost of housing. And this is where I think I'm going with this prediction, because I believe that we've seen great equity in houses, and I'm not saying that equity we're going to go reduce equity, but I don't think it's going to be as high. I think we're going to get, because I think what you're going to see, in my opinion, is that we're going to see more houses come on the market, especially new builds, right? And the cost of that is going to go down a little bit, ish a little bit. So I'm thinking that we're not going to see this 6, 7, 8% equity a year. Maybe we get back to a more
3 to 5,
3%, 4% equity. That's kind of my prediction.
Which was a normalized market, for 10, 12 years easily. Mm-hmm. When people moved into the Raleigh market, they saw an annual rate of appreciation of about 3 to 5%. Right. And that was a normalized market for a long period of time. Again, we have people who, real estate, professionals who entered into their careers when rates were in 3s and 4s and 5%. Right. And they were like, well, this is what it is, right?
That's normal. Yeah. That was the norm.
But they entered in at that time and they were thinking it was going to ride the wave forever. Right. Not seeing what I've seen since I've been a mortgage professional. I got in 99, and in 99, interest rates were 8.5%. And actually people were happy to get an 8.5% interest rate because we had just gone through 12 and 14%. Mm-hmm. Again, not a normal time frame, but still down escalator of how our markets work. I think the first thing that we look at when we talk about policies, the first prediction, where are rates going to go? Mm-hmm. I think in the direction of this president with these policies, especially being energy centric, you're going to see interest rates decline.
So are you thinking
you're not immediate.
You're not thinking are you thinking, I agree with you. I think there's going to be a decline, but I don't think we're going to see 3%.
Never again. That was an 80-year low. 2.25 was an 80-year low. Okay. 3% is still not a normalized market. A normalized, and again, I might have to bring in the charts, but so if you look at 200 years of interest rates, in that 200-year period of time, the normalized market is below 6. And even for the majority of that time below 6, it's around 5 or below. Mm-hmm. So 5 and 6 area, those are normalized rates, but it's going to take a little bit to get there. I think this year we'll see rates drop into the 5s. I think by the end of the year, we'll see rates drop into the 5s. I don't think it's going to happen in 4 months. I think it's going to be 8 months. I think it's going to be 10 months before we get to that point.
Interesting, because I would have suspected that your bet would have been.
Go ahead.
That your bet would have been by the end of year we'll see 6 by the end of year 1, and then by the time we get mid-year 2026, now we start moving into the 5s.
So the bond market was normalizing at the end of last year. let's go back to August of last year. The bond market started normalizing at that time. And in fact, 10-year treasury yield was in the 3.6 range. Yesterday, I think it was 4.6. Full point different between the two. And in fact, if you go back to Monday, the bonds were 10-year treasuries of 4.8. There was a pretty solid move between Monday and yesterday. And I haven't seen bonds this morning, so forgive me. I'm giving you yesterday's intel. But in saying that, in September of last year, I was locking in refis. I did 2 refinances for people who had gotten 8% interest rates in the high spike time, and I refinanced them down to 6.5%.
Right.
I locked in 1 VA purchase in September at 5.625. Then,
right,
before the Fed cut rates.
Sure.
And once the Fed cut rates, then the bond market spiked, and the bond market spiked up to where it was on Monday, which is 4.8%.
So I think it's going to be safe to say that one of the predictions that we're going to be able to make 2025 is probably this is going to be the year of the refi.
I believe by the end of this year, when you go into November, December timeframe, we're going to start refinancing a lot of people who have suffered over the last few years with high rates.
Yeah, I think that's it's something I didn't think about when I was preparing for the show, but it does make a lot of sense hearing you talk that 2025 is the year of the refi.
I think so. I think this year and next year both will see refis.
Mm-hmm.
I think both years.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of people who are like, I'm going to wait. Refinance twice. It's not going to kill you. When you buy a house, and I know I'm sure everybody's heard the phrase, buy the house, date the rate, marry the house, date the rate. I'm sure you've heard the phrase to death.
We have said it ad nauseum on the show.
Right.
All of you.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, everybody's heard the phrase.
Right.
But, now is the time to start paying attention to the 10-year treasury. I think you'll see 10-year treasuries go into purchase mode. When you do, you'll get back into a normalized rate market at that point. And I think that's what we're all fighting for. I do believe that we'll see normalized rates by the end of the year.
So let's talk about new homes and resales. I'm making the prediction that this is probably going to be one of the best years for new home sales is my prediction. I think resales might be.
What price point are we going for on new home sales?
Well, I think you're going to be looking at anything at the median, which right now is about 450-ish or something like that.
So 450 to 5.
I think that's what you're going to see selling. I think that's what they're going to be building a lot of. I think it's going to be between 450 and 7 is going to go really, really quickly. I do think the next level will be that 750 to $1 million one. And then I think after that, I think the rest of it, the higher you go, I think it starts to be all about the same. But I do think we're going to see a lot more. I believe we are. It's my prediction that we're going to see a lot more of those houses between 450 and maybe 600.
Okay.
Because that, to me, that's now almost a new home start.
In this area?
Yeah.
In our area.
It's a new home start. Now, that said, if we're right, that production costs are going to go down because the cost of materials.
Again, it's going to be a slow way, but it'll get there.
But let's say that that's the case.
Yeah.
Then it may take some pressure off the first-time home buyer here.
So there's always the ish on that. If we can get a normalization on our energy production, let's say we just get a normalization on that. That still doesn't mean that raw land is going to go down in value. In other words, or it's not even going to stay the same. Raw land itself is probably going to go up in price, which will, again, adjust the price of a home at the same time upward. But in our area, land is limited. Hardly any farms are being sold at this point because they've all been sold at this point.
Well, and you're moving further and further out.
Going into Nash, going into Franklin, going around us. That's right.
We're seeing, Franklin was once a town that was not even a thought process. And if you've seen what they've done lately,
it's booming.
That place is booming. They're bringing in great restaurants and great venues.
Oh yeah.
Music venues.
Afterlife.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's an amazing what they've done there in this,
it's a resurgence. But look at all the other areas around us. And I know we're talking, we're speaking to everybody everywhere, but at the same time, we're talking about our area, which is kind of Wake County. Yeah. But even look at Anger and Lillington and areas like that were really slow and dying towns. They're all being revitalized because we know that we're pushing humans out that way.
We're pushing out.
Yeah.
I think this is, but I don't think this is uncommon regardless of the city that you live in. So, I know that I have coaching clients, for instance, in the Columbus, Ohio area.
Okay.
They're telling me the same things. There's no land. They're moving. Yeah. They're moving on the outskirts.
Ohio State owns everything.
Yeah, right.
Columbus. So everybody else is just fighting.
Yeah, but I've got the same thing going on in different areas where people live in these larger cities. It's just not an uncommon thing. Things are moving out. We're seeing the smaller towns.
Right.
And we're also seeing people want to get out of the bigger cities.
Yeah.
And because they don't want to live in the congestion.
So at our age, at our age, here
we go.
But at our age, people like us in the 50s, 40s, late 40s, 50s, and 60s who are still working, and they're working professionals. If they have a job where they're data entry professional and they're working on their laptop all day long, they are just as productive at 8:00 in the morning in the office as they are at home. Probably even more so being productive at home because they don't have to drive an hour to get to the office. Sure. So again, a lot of these people who realize that they can make their exact same salary, and now they're going to live in Anger and sell the Raleigh house for $600,000 and buy an Anger house of same value and same size for $400,000, and muddle through a higher interest rate for a couple of years before they refi. They're thinking about taking that plunge. And that might be part of, is it going to be new sale versus resale? People are going to be thinking about, this is the time I can change my life. I can slow down. I don't have to be in downtown Raleigh. Right. Amazon delivers in Anger. Right. So, I mean, it's what they're going to think about as far as their lifestyle, or even, maybe they want to downsize because they're already 55, 56, 60. And they're like, I don't like those stairs anymore. Right. And so now all of a sudden they're looking for a ranch house in Anger or something. I keep saying Anger, but I'm just, throwing it as an example.
It's a small town.
Yeah.
So, okay, this you bring up an interesting point, because there was something here that I wanted to make a prediction about and would love to get your thought process on. We're starting to see major corporations move from WFH, work from home, to RTO, return to the office.
Yeah, some of them are.
I mean, because like we see JP Morgan, Amazon, larger are bringing this in, which, by the way, all the working from home created this huge vacancy in office space commercially.
Humongous.
Right. Huge space.
Yeah.
If we return to office, RTO, and let's say that becomes, and I believe it will, I believe that it's going to, I think, because they're paying a lot of money for this office space.
We'll get in that.
Okay. I believe that what's going to happen in 2025 is we're going to see a lot more movement of people moving closer to work because they're not going to be working from home.
Here is
that's my prediction.
Here is where corporations fail. Here is where they fail. Inability to think outside the box is the biggest failure of any corporation out there. And to my point for this, when you're 45, 48, 55, 60 years old, and you're just as productive from home as you are the office, you're not going back. You're going to tell your boss, I'm not going back. Oh, and by the way, if you force me to go back, I'm going to find another job that will allow me to stay out here. If you're under 45 years of old, you're going back to the office. They don't trust you enough as it is at this point. They want you in the office. If they want a senior person who is 45, 50 to be there, they're going to pay that person more than they have to get that person to come back to the office. In the vacant spaces that they had in all these corporate buildings, they should have been building housing space in all of those buildings. They should have done it. They should have recognized that there is going to be a real shift, that shift is going to last forever, because people who are seniors in their profession, their their drug of choice at this point in their life is making money, to put money in their 401k, to put money in their investments. They want to retire one day. And the idea of spending gas and spending time in the car to go back to the office does not appeal to them at all. There's going to be pushback on that.
I'm not saying there's not going to be some pushback on that, but here's the dominoes that fall for me in this prediction. If you get people who say, I'm not returning to the office, right?
Because you'll get them.
Well, what's going to happen is if you get too many of those people, there's not going to be enough jobs for people to work from. So you're going to be forced at some point to return to the office.
Or they're going to be forced to hire somebody to take your place. And fine, you're not coming in, we're going to fire you. No problem, bro. I will find a job somewhere else. I will take that first year with the new company at a higher raise, and I'll go in there. But I'm telling them up front, here's my resume. I've done X over these amount of years. I don't need to be in the office to be a productive person. You know, companies that value their producers will give leeway to their producers.
Well, I think what we're going to, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I think this is going to be one of those in December. Okay. You and I are going to to go in December.
And we're going to be looking at, work from home. There's 40 to 50-year-old guys still at the house.
We're going to have to see how it plays out. I also am interested in your prediction. I'd love to hear you here as we got just a couple minutes left. Do you see an increase in the condo townhome market?
Yes. 100%. Yes.
Explain why you're so confident in that.
Well, just it's a necessity, really. I mean, North Carolina has built enough apartments over the last 3 to 4 years. I mean, we have as many apartments as they have in California now, just in our state. So we know people are moving here for temporary housing, but in areas where it's dense population, if you want people to be living in those areas, a lot of people are our age or even a little bit younger. They are looking for an equity buy, and I think that there is going to be a drastically hard look by our political officials, even here locally, to find spaces where they can build townhouse condo. It's funny that you bring it up because during my campaign, I ran for mayor. If anybody doesn't know, I ran for mayor of Raleigh. During my campaign, I talked about removing the prisons from downtown Raleigh to create livable space. The person who won, her name is Janet Cowell. After the race, she and I had a dinner and we talked about the idea of moving the prisons out of downtown Raleigh, which I am now working with the General Assembly people to try to get women's prison out first. So if we can remove what I call dead space, and dead space are non-taxable properties. A lot of them are owned by states. So we can remove dead space and turn it into, living space. Then you'll see condos, townhomes, pop up in these areas. And I think that because we talked about it during the campaign, I think the government is focusing on trying to, create areas where we can live. So
this has been fun.
It's always fun.
It's always fun when we're together doing this. But doing this prediction show, I think, is a lot of fun. And we're going to bring you back in December.
Oh, Lord.
And we're going to review the tape, and we're going to see how we did.
I don't know how that tape magically disappeared from the internet. I don't know how that happened.
Special shout out to Vicki Thompson, Joelle Fitz. Thanks for watching the show, and everybody who's watching, by the way, and for your comments. Appreciate it so much. Tell people how they get a hold of you.
You can call me. You can call me at 919-612-0043, or you can email me at pfitts@advantagelending.com. That's pfitts@advantagelending.com. Want to give a personal shout out to Ida Turbot and her family. They lost Bob Turbot at the end of 2024, and over the next couple of days, we're doing funeral visitation and celebration of life. And just want to say that, you're our family.
Yep.
And we're thinking about you.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we have a real estate company, but we're all in this real estate family together. And people think that we're competitors. We're not, we're friends.
Yeah.
And so, our heart here, from Linda Craft Team Realtors to Ida Turbot and Ida Turbot team, Colleen and Michael and the family, our heart goes out to you.
Amen.
And we are thinking great thoughts and celebrate with you the celebration of Bob Turbot. So, we wish you condolences, but also that, we're here as well because we're all part of the same family.
Yep. Amen.
So in that said, listen, you had a lot of choices. You chose us. Thank you. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube. Write us a positive review wherever you're listening to the show. Watch us on DBTV. Big news. We're about to expand DBTV to other stations coming up. I can't reveal it right now, but it may have something to do with fruit that we may be on. So with that said, you know what I say to you?
Banana products?
You know what I say from all over the world? It's this. Ciao, everybody.